Mistakes the reason why I'm trying to hide. As for all the things you taught me, it sends my future into clearer dimensions. You never know how much you hurt me. Stay a minute, can't you see that I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms? I feel ya, I hope you comprehend. Are broken. A lover's promise never came with a maybe. So many words are left unspoken. The silent voices are driving me crazy. After all the pain you caused me, making love could never be your intention. You never know how much you hurt me. Stay, can't you see that I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms? I feel ya, I hope you comprehend. I wanna fall from the stars straight into your arms. I feel ya, I hope you comprehend.
Give me some tissue, Tyler. Sometimes it feels cold, and if you're all alone,
Yes. Good morning, good morning, good morning. This is the Motivator Show. Alongside, I see her somewhere. It's Lady Chelsea. How are you, Lady Chelsea?
I'm good, thank you. Hello, good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Oh, wow. Hey, it's a lovely day here in London. I even saw the sun shining for a moment. Oh, it's gone now. Are you sitting at your end?
No.
Oh, dear. Oh, dear. Well, it's a grey, bright sky, though, huh?
Yeah, it is.
There you are, huh? It's still good, huh?
Yeah.
I can feel the power going through us, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, let's start the show, shall we? Okay, so first of all, let's give praise to Giant King, who's taken us from night to day. It is a great day, but I did see the sun earlier.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you, Giant King. Huh? Yeah. A stalwart, okay? And of course, it's always good to mention the Galaxy Management, who are a testament to determination, dogged determination, that our community will have a social media platform that we are in total control. And we see the world through our prism, not through other people's prism. BBC, Sky, ITV, and the various awful right-wing newspapers we have to suffer every day, you know? But indeed, even the radio and the other social media platforms don't control what we will say here today, yeah? So it's through our prism. So important to see the world as we see it, rather than what other people see it. So I want to give praise to the Galaxy Management Chief Pakambabai, the visionary leader who's formed and started this station and has been with the station ever since. Yeah, he's now a chief. Previously had a different name, but he's been recognized for his efforts, for his achievements. I say praise Jah Rastafari to our chief Pakambabai. Also, of course, I give praise, of course, to Elder El Krute, Abu Ratata, and of course, Nickel, the most royal, one of the longest, if not the longest, pilots on the station. And never forgetting the solutions finder, Empress Shanice. I love that woman, I tell you. Solutions, yeah? We're not just going to chat about these issues. We'll find solutions. We move forward, yeah? That's what we need to do. Move forward. Not moving forward is inertia. Inertia is death. Let me say it again. We're not moving forward. It's simply inertia. And inertia means death. You're standing still or likely going backwards, but the whole world is going forward, passing you. You're apparently going backwards. Yeah? That is not acceptable. I want to give praise to the Empress Shanice. Thank you for all of her work and determination. Praise Jah Rastafari. But never forgetting what a previous contributor to this show stated. Remember, that visionary, what should I refer to as being? I refer to as being a visionary local journalist with a very wide perspective of our condition as a people. Yeah. Even if you don't call yourself African, but you call yourself Black, you're clearly of African heritage. And what Chinchua made sure we understood is that it's not Africa's natural resources that is the source of its wealth and its strength. It's the technologies that derive from those natural resources. From the oil, from the coal, from the platinum, from the gold, from the nickel, from the iron, from the sulfur, the magnesium. All these are the basis of a technological society. It is that is where the wealth is. In other words, you give cheaply your natural resources than buy expensively the technologies that derive from those natural resources. Stupid, huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Stupid,
No,
huh?
yeah. No, you're right. Yes.
And she made it clear to us that's where the wealth is, and that should be our focus, to develop a technological Africa, Caribbean, those places where we reside. We should be the custodians of the scientific and technological and biological knowledge in the world, because we have the natural resources. That's what makes platforms like this such a powerful place to be, because you can see the world as it really should be seen. So I give praise to her, and I hope she's listening. We need to get her back, give us an update on what's happening in great Nigeria.
Okay.
I know the forces outside, they want to encourage Nigerians to split and go into smaller components. As they always saying, go. Because many parts, if they come together, they potentially will be greater than the individual parts. That is Africa. That is most certainly Nigeria in a microcosm. So I hope that Nigerians will not fall for that social trick, and not allow the internal divisions to destroy great Nigeria. That is my sincere hope. I know the feelings, I know the strength of feelings amongst Nigerians about what's happening in the country. But let me assure you, Africans naturally would not behave in that way. So it's our wisdom, our culture, our traditions needs to overcome. So that big vision, great Nigeria, can flourish and extend right across what we call West Africa. That's the vision. My namesake would have said, I have a vision. Or dream even. That is right. That is right. Anyway, enough of my lecture. Let me move on. I feel so good today. Let me bang the table and the camera shaking. Let Nigeria flourish. Great Nigeria flourish. Anyway, let me move on. I want to say, Lady Chelsea, wasn't last week's show powerful?
Yeah, it was.
Wow. Wasn't it powerful? It most certainly left a mark on me, because we've been privileged to host here a number of really talented individuals. It's not until you come away and you then think about, wow, what it is to be a pharmacist. What does it mean to be a pharmacist? Is it just a pharmacist, or is it a pharmacist, really complex profession, which is at the very center of healthcare, not only in this country, but worldwide? But the very basis of modern medicines is pharmacy. Okay. So I want to really give a big shout out to the UK Black Pharmacists Association. And their members. I really want to really ensure that they understand that we appreciate them. And those sons and daughters, those men and women who are listening to this show or considering a career, being a pharmacist, in whatever guise, there are many guises, it's really a strategically important profession for us to have a significant presence in. So I want to give praise to the UK Black Pharmacists Association and all of its members. Hey, wonderful. And of course, I had the honor to speak with, obviously, Gomez, the founder of the association, and of course, Mafifi, who came on last week. I really want to give praise to them, And of course, Elijah, who provided an alternative perspective. But I understand, if he hasn't already, he has agreed to join the UK Black Pharmacists Association. Truly, I wish them all well. And we'll again do another show looking at pharmacies and pharmaceuticals generally, and their appropriateness or yes or no. Useful discussion to be had, but truly an important organization for us to give praise to and to give support to. Sons and daughters, nieces and nephews, yeah, men and women who have yet to choose a career path. I cannot commend enough the path for becoming a pharmacist in whatever guise, either in the acute or hospital sector or in the primary, in the community sector. Well done, you all. Well done to you all. Okay. But before I go further on other shows, I should give out those most crucial health messages.
Yeah, may as well.
I know I get a few complaints, huh? Maybe I should get you to do it sometimes. But anyway, I'll do it. Oh, don't worry. Your time is coming. Okay. I want to remind people and that they should really consider the amount of salt they're taking into their diets. Okay. Whether you're adding salt as a result of eating that fish and chips, or you eat fish and chips?
Not really.
Really? Okay. Have you been to a fish and chip shop? They pour
years ago.
Salt and vinegar? No? Oh
yeah, we can ask them up to. But yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my
it's a lot. They do put a lot on there.
Like this.
It's just it's a lot.
Now, I suppose once in a while, don't get me wrong, okay? Once in a while. But honestly, what I observed, the amount of salt that was being poured on and vinegar that had been poured on is quite remarkable. And of course, the amount of salt that's in those processed foods, again, is quite remarkable. You don't notice it there. Yeah? It is quite remarkable. I say to people, it won't affect you immediately. It won't affect you next week, next month, or next year. It may not affect you in 10 years' time. But if we continue eating the levels of salt over 20, 30, 40-year periods, it's little wonder that the levels of hypertension, or in common parlance, high blood pressure that pervades our community is still high, extremely high. Sorry, too high. We've got to take care of ourselves. Similarly, the same is most certainly true for sugar. I know I keep quoting the Vice Chancellor of the West Indies, Professor Hilary Beckles, in his speech, when he cites that there's an epidemic of diabetes in the Caribbean. Okay. And it's well known here, and I should refer to the appropriate papers, that here amongst the African or Black communities here in Britain, and I suspect that's the case right across Europe, there is indeed extremely high levels of diabetes amongst our populations. And this is primarily a result of excessive amounts of sugars in our diets. Okay. I always say, of course, I ask you to consider the amount of sugar you're putting into your teas and coffees, or consuming through those soft drinks, or indeed in those processed foods. Very important to consider. Okay. Again, it won't affect you immediately, but over time, it has a cumulative impact. Similarly, fats. Yeah. I gave it the example of going to the butcher and paying the same price for that big white streak in the beef. Same price. I won't tell you the expensive Lady Chelsea. Oh my God.
Okay.
You know?
Yeah.
For the beef, the same price. He didn't give us a discount for all that white streak going through the beef. So I asked myself, wow, and that fat accumulates in our bodies and coagulates around our organs, okay, and goes through our bloodstreams and contribute to blocking our arteries. Heart attacks is still very prevalent in our community. High levels of cholesterol pervades our bodies, our physiologies. Yeah. So we've got to think about this. Yeah, we should not be eating those high energy foods. And you recall previous guests, you might recall the three chefs, that incredibly intelligent, highly intelligent, almost genius level, I'm sure, the Sister Teresa. Okay?
Yeah.
And she talked about our history as a people, coming from the enslavement period where we were compelled to eat those high energy foods, if only to maintain, have enough energy to maintain the work demands that were imposed upon us. We no longer need to do that any longer. So we've got to think carefully the amount of fat we're ingesting, either in the meats or the oil that we're pouring. Make sure it's purely vegetable oil. Yeah. These have cumulative impact. And of course, to encourage our people to drink the appropriate amount of water each day. I've got my water bottle here. We saw Lady Chelsea's enormous water bottle. Oh, it's enormous.
It's quite
look
big,
at my modesty side, litre size. Just drink small amount of water regularly throughout the day, okay? And that will help your body to hydrate itself. Hydration encourages your body to excrete the toxins, the poisons that accumulate in your body naturally. And of course, exercise is mission critical. You've got to exercise every day. Your body craves for exercise. If you treat your bodies well, it will treat you well. Your awareness well. You won't have all these ailments, maladies that pervades us at the moment. We've got to exercise every day. I say 5 minutes, but I'm told by the experts, no, motivator. Yeah. You should actually be saying 10, 15, 20 minutes, rigorous exercise.
Yeah.
And this nutritionist I mentioned to you, and she's very, very stern with me. And she said I should also mention, if you're above 50 and you're not exercising, then you're leading yourself to an early death, is what she said.
Oh, okay.
Oh my God! Wow. Okay. Indeed. Okay. I said I should say that. He said, "Yeah, tell them."
Yeah.
Because often, as you get older, you become less active, and you believe, well, that's just a part of getting older. Actually, you've got more time for physical exercise as you get older. That's what she said.
Yeah, it's true.
She's got clients who believe that other nonsense, that you should exercise less because you're not young anymore. She said, no, if you want to have a healthy old age, you must do all those things that promotes a healthy living style. And as part of that, exercise is critical. Even if there's a sprint or a walk which is fast but keeps your heart racing, you need to run, just walk quickly, she said. Just walk quickly. But do that for at least 15 minutes. That will make all the difference, And of course, if you can do the upper half of your body, get some weight. Oh, there we go. Oh, there we are. This is for you, mate.
Your weight's made of
my weight.
That's good.
I am above 50, folks.
There we go.
Right. Okay, so I'm doing it.
Yeah.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Yeah.
Right, Lady Chelsea?
Yeah.
If I can do it, you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Health messages are critical because we don't discuss our health enough, And today's program would, of course, address the issue of a particular health condition, long COVID. Okay. We've just had 18 months of intense COVID concerns, and we need to discuss long COVID because we, the community, are not discussing long COVID enough. Okay. It's an important subject to discuss. It affects us, it affects all the communities that make up Britain. Okay. We need to have that discussion and how we're going to support each other, particularly those with long COVID. Very important. Anyway, and of course, last on this health section, if I may, Lady Chelsea, and I'll only be 1 minute. I know I've been taking longer.
That's fine.
I want to remind people, as well as all the physical and nutritional considerations, you've also got to take into account your mental and spiritual health as well. As our brother in Nottingham reminded us, that one's spiritual and mental health are also considerations that we should pay attention to. So, of course, giving yourself time to allow all the pressures and worries of the world to wash away, to allow yourself those moments of quietness, where you can gather yourself, and you can feel centered, and this promotes good mental and spiritual health. Give yourself 10, 20, 30, 50 minutes or longer per day where you're just with yourself. It promotes good mental acuity, clarity of thoughts, promotes creativity, and positive feelings of health, general health, and well-being. An essential component in an overall health regime. Good food, exercise, and of course, mentally taking care of yourself. It's all part of what makes us who we are as a people. Good mental health, good spiritual health isn't as important as good physical health, and of course, good general nutritional consideration. I think I've finished with that bit now. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Have I got the message across to people?
I
There's some really stubborn people out there, I know. There's some stubborn people out there.
I'm sure they'll break down. So.
Oh my gosh, there's some stubborn people. Okay, and I can tell you, we are stubborn. We are stubborn. I met many Nigerians, very stubborn,
Really?
And even though this is for them and their benefits,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not going to do that. No, I'm not going to do that. Those who need to, sometimes some people have to feel it to learn.
That's true. Yeah.
Although, wouldn't it be fantastic if you could acquire knowledge as a result of other people's knowledge?
Yeah.
Therefore, you don't need to go through the experience because you're standing on the shoulders of those who've gone through the experience, have learnt and understood, and have passed it on to you, so you don't need to replicate what happened in the past. You can look forward to new experiences. And that is how societies progress, by us learning the lessons of the past. We stand on heads and shoulders on those who've gone through the experiences, and that would enable us to be a much more forward-thinking, confident community. And that confidence is the word that keeps coming up to me of late, the lack of confidence amongst our peoples. That has got to change. Praise be. Anyway, I think I've finished my little bit. I think, Lady Chelsea, I want to hand over to you. Okay. And I just want to say to people that it was so important. I extended those health messages. I became really conscious as part of the preparation for this show on long COVID, how important those health messages are. Okay. I know it's a bit repetitious, but I found that in order to get through some of these hard nuts, and I'm hard nuts, okay? I'm sorry. It's repetition, and slowly it will sink in. Anyway, over to you, Lady Chelsea. Over to you.
So this is my little bit with the competition for children that we've been doing every week since I've been here. This is in support of young Malachi's book, who came on a couple months ago with his mother to explain homeschooling and what she did. And we're very proud of him, as we still are now, as he's 14 years old, and wrote, published, and is selling his own book, which is called Tutankhamun, The Tale of the Adventurous Boy King. which is part of the prize, which comes £25 if you answer one of the questions correctly. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to read out the number just so everyone can get prepared to call in, and then I'll do the questions. So the number to call is 020 348 15240, and then you'll be asked for a PIN number, which is 370 733 4397. Then you'll be asked for the hash key sign. You'll press that, and it will get you through to the studio. So the first question I have is for under 10s. And I'll just turn the volume up.
Question 1. How do you spell Tutankhamun?
So that's, how do you spell Tutankhamun? Then the second question I have is for 11 to 16-year-olds.
Question 9. Who or what did the people of Kemet worship during the time of Tutankhamun?
So that's, who or what did the people of Kemet worship at the time of Tutankhamun?
Well,
yeah.
as I said before about these wonderful questions, and I suppose, Lady Chelsea, I suppose, of course, it does depend upon parents, of course, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you're allowed to research for the question. I don't expect you to just know. That's part of it, the point we're doing it, so you can learn at the same time. So it's not cheating to go and have a Google. Mm-hmm. So that's fine.
And of course, it does require that parents are sufficiently motivated to encourage children to do that piece of research, because it's not a part of the so-called national curriculum here in this country, of course, and I'm just very conscious of that fact, and I understand why it presents challenges for some families, and of course the whole purpose of these programs is to reconnect us with our enormous history, rich history. Okay? And this is intended to stimulate that discussions amongst family members. This is our history. And I know, what Lady Chelsea, was interesting during the week, someone mentioned this to me, that there are far too many people who remember the Hollywood films. I'm not going to call the title of it. I find it offensive. Richard Burton and Elizabeth Taylor. Not sure if you've ever watched it. Oh, you may be too young. Are you too young?
Who those people are.
Too young.
I might have heard of the name, but I don't know what they look like. I don't know what you're talking about.
I hear you. Well, I'm not going to call the name, but anyway, it's one of those Hollywood films that sought to supplant African actors with European actors, okay? And they were depicting our famous historical figures, okay? And one of those, of course, it's centered around Tutankhamun. And unfortunately, that's where many people's view of history stops. But we, as a people, have a duty to remember our history. Very, very important. And I can only hope that, given time and sufficient patience, that those families who are bereft of our history, will do the legwork necessary to reacquaint them with our history. And I should hasten to add, our history does not begin with the enslavement of our ancestors.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Huh?
No, you're right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, the national curriculum here in Britain, the same national curriculum up until only a few years ago, was used right across the Caribbean and parts of Africa. When it talked about African history, it focused on the enslavement of Africans.
Yeah, they tend to
And no
do.
other part of history
Yeah.
was ever recorded in the British national curriculum. So it's little wonder that British people have a particular view of Africans, because that's what they've been indoctrinated to believe.
Mm.
Huh? It's little wonder, little wonder. So I don't actually blame much of them. It's those who know better. They're the ones who are directing this, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a sort of insidious, continuous psychological and indeed often physical attack upon Africans generally.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. And that's part of the challenge we have in these questions each week. Mm-hmm. Because you would imagine that these questions are really quite straightforward. After all, they were presented to us by a 14-year-old boy.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So we, the community, have got to really think about how we teach our own history to our children. And if we're not teaching our children our history from our perspective at home, you can't really expect it to happen in schools here. There's little wonder those sons and daughters grow up without the confidence that their roots are deep in human history. It's little wonder, isn't it?
Mm.
Yeah. So they're bound to have these insecurities, lack of confidence, And those of us with confidence seem out of place almost. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's part of the challenge we have. But the whole purpose of this station, Galaxy Radio and other stations like it, is of course to de-brainwash.
Yeah.
That's its intent. And it's intended that we're able to tell our story from our prism. Yeah, from how we've experienced it, okay, and what we know of our history. Because it is our history, as opposed to being told at arm's length or as a secondary device. Actually, we can tell it intimately.
Yeah.
We can share our history with our children intimately. It's our history. It's
exactly.
Mm-hmm. It's our experience. And we need to do that far more often in our families. Okay, anyway, enough of that for me. But we look forward to meeting young Manikai again. He'll be older than 14 when we meet him next time. And I suspect he will have a very deep voice.
Maybe. That's possible.
So these young men, huh?
They change so quickly.
Huh? But we're not going to forget to give recognition to Derek, Shortridge, and his outstanding book, Yes, Words Are Wonderful. And it remains a very popular book on Amazon, okay? I want to give recognition to him and his family, and also, of course, recognize outstanding Empress Sister Joan, who wrote the book, we gave promotion to how to pass the 11 plus and other examinations. I'm still in the preparation to organize a book signing ceremony for her somewhere in Southwark. So watch out and watch your space, Sister Joan. That will definitely happen. We welcome the efforts of all teachers to educate our community and indeed communities generally. We want to give promotion to you. All righty. I think we might be ready, Lady Chelsea.
Yeah.
I believe we have our guest on the line. Let's making sure we do a quick sound check. Clear. Are you on the line?
Yes. Mr.
Oh,
Larry
you-
Fisher is here. I'm ready. I'm ready and good to go.
Oh gosh, keep it flowing. Say what? Come on now. That's the energy. This is early morning. You know they sleep out there. We've got to wake them up.
We've got a lot to be grateful for. So yeah, let's have a great time.
Mhm.
Okay. How are you this fine morning anyway? How are
I
you?
am very good. Thank you for asking. You know, it's not a throwaway question. You're genuinely asking how I'm doing, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And the topic for discussion today, of course, it's one that, as a result of this more recent experience, in fact, I say recent experience, we're still going through it. The COVID-19 continues to ravage the world. I use the word deliberately, ravage the world, okay? It may not appear to be quite so headlined at the moment, okay? But it's still a feature, not a background feature, a prominent feature in healthcare in Britain, across Europe, across the Americas, the Caribbean, and most certainly in Africa. Okay, and the long-term effects of the COVID-19 is not yet fully being discussed in our own community. And I was shocked, you know, that as I did the research for this show, and so I started monitoring other radio platforms or social media platforms hosted by members of our own community. And I couldn't find one that is discussing long COVID. I don't understand why. I really do not understand why, and we might want to explore that later on, okay? But that needs to change, okay? Now, I'm elected to be a local advocate, okay? Most certainly a local advocate to promote the interest of the community, okay? And where necessary, for change. Okay, where necessary, and this has to change. We've got to discuss it. There's no denying, as some people would like us to do, but it does exist. What is it? Is it really existing? Are you sure this is right? Yeah. Do you remember the early days, Lady Chelsea? Remember there was deniers.
Yes, yes.
Well, this is not real.
Yeah.
You know? This is not real. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. And I leave many of those people to their devices. I know a number of them who denied that COVID-19 was real, got it themselves.
Oh goodness. Unfortunately.
And what was even more, I suppose, embarrassing.
Oh goodness.
But a number of them kept it quiet.
Oh. Well, they had to, didn't they?
Honestly, they didn't.
Well, to save face, if you said that it's not real and then you got it, it's
So
a
you
bit
say admitting the truth, you know, or going through a process of learning and realization is an integral part of the human condition, isn't it?
Or some people are
Yeah,
not
that's
sure.
an integral part of the human condition.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally, I was just a little disappointed in some of them.
Yeah.
I was just a little disappointed. A bit of honesty would have gone a long way and would have helped not hundreds, but thousands of our peoples who were pursuing similar narratives.
Yeah. Yeah.
It would have helped.
Okay?
Because reparations begins with self. Yeah. So it would have been a reparations experience. Self-heal. Yeah. Well, that's fine. That's fine. But those who were courageous enough to admit that they were wrong, I want to put my fist up to them, that really strong fist, and say, thank you. Thank you. Because there we have hope. There is hope. Okay? And I can assure you, in our community, we have abundance of hope, incredible potential.
Yeah.
Incredible potential. That's why I can speak with this confidence, with this thrust and gusto. We have enormous potential. Yeah?
Yeah.
That's why we're going to do this show today. We need to understand what is long COVID. Okay. How I met this young man. You don't mind me saying this young man?
Yes, sir.
My son. Good, thank you. Is that his mother is one of the most strongest, intelligent, determined people I've ever met.
Okay.
I don't mind saying this on international radio. Yeah?
Yeah.
Most social media was going worldwide. I don't mind telling you so. I'm blessed. She only lives not too far from where I am now. I am blessed. Okay. And what she demonstrates is always the women. It's always the women. That's what I learned from the women. What she demonstrates is a degree of social maturity that if we all possess to that degree, societies will be transformed. The world will be transformed. You know? She just through her actions has earned my unreserved respect, and therefore, sons or daughters that come from that womb are bound to be remarkable individuals. Let me tell you. Hello, Liv. Am I pronouncing your name correctly? That's right. Yeah? Larry. Yeah, forgive me. I didn't say Larry. Sorry.
Larry. That's
Larry.
right.
Yeah.
Let's get that in.
I want to say that when she described you to me, I said, wow. I didn't even talk to you by that time. I said, wow. A remarkable, detailed word picture that meant that I'm expecting you to arrive here with a crown on your head. No, forgive me, a double crown on your head, a pharaoh,
Wow.
akin to a pharaoh. A double crown, upper and lower Nile, huh? Yeah, the double crown, yeah.
I'm just a young
She's
man.
that proud of you. Hey, God, I tell you, that proud of you, that
Young
proud of you,
man
you
trying to
know?
make it happen.
Oh, I tell you, absolutely. And of course, she went on to describe, because she was aware of my activities out there in the community, supporting those who've either got COVID and going through shielding and so on, okay, and those families whose loved ones have demise as a result of COVID, yeah, and there are too many within 2 or 3 miles where I am right now. Too many, okay, and I've described here previously that I lost my best friend to COVID. You know? So I'm not going to fool with this thing. I'm not going to play fool with this thing. Okay. And even if I wanted to deny it, I absolutely would not. Okay. And we, the community, must take defensive actions to prevent it becoming an epidemic in our community. Full stop. Whatever method you use to protect yourself against the COVID-19, you should. Yeah. There'll be no foolproof method, mind you. Okay. Whatever method you apply, you can still catch it anyway, but let's hope it doesn't lead to your demise. Okay. That's all I'd say. Don't put your hands up and believe the right-wing propaganda and deny it does exist and do nothing to protect yourself, because I have to say to you, my people, that's stupid. It's stupid. Yeah. The only person who might have said it from an international platform is Donald Failure Trump. And he took it in secret.
Yeah.
The biggest mouthpiece anti-COVID-19. Yeah? He took it. Was giving doubt to his millions and tens of millions of followers. So they had to ban him from Twitter, ban him from Facebook. Yeah, they had to ban him because he's just stupid. I want to emphasize that. Stupid. Because why? If a lion is approaching you a vicious lion who's hungry, what do? Do you take evasive action? Do you seek to protect yourself? Or do you just lie there passively and let that lion devour you? Huh?
Mm.
Okay. So this is part of our antibodies. Yeah. Our antibodies are cutting in now as a community. And we are going to discuss those subjects which are supposedly taboo. Because I was approached by someone who discovered I could do the program on COVID. Why do that? You know, you don't want to talk about that. No, you shouldn't do that. No, that's not right. So why is it not right? No, you don't want to tell people you've had it and you're suffering from it still. Why not? Well, no, you shouldn't let people know. But why not? No, you shouldn't let people know. But why not? It's a circular conversation.
Mm.
Part of my lifetime experience, you should look windward. Yeah? Don't avoid it. You know, you've got to look into it, see what's coming. To do otherwise is to ensure failure. And we are not about failure here. So we are going to talk about long COVID. Okay. And those of you who've got a bit squeamish about it, we've got a very handsome young man. I love his glasses. Oh, look at this young man. Huh? Let me see his muscles bulging, you know. Okay.
I'm done.
What? You know? He's brave enough to come on this show and talk about his experience. His mother is outstanding with the courage of 1,000 lions. Yeah? That's where he gets his courage from.
Yeah.
So let's begin, because I want to understand this thing. I really want to understand it. Okay. And let's begin. First of all, I may ask you my first question. Sorry for the slightly longer intro, but it was necessary because it's a source of controversy for reasons I don't fully understand. You got COVID. Was it at the time in which you were aware it was prevalent in the community, or did it just happen out of the blue and you didn't know what it was and then you discovered it was COVID? Did it just happen? Yeah.
March 20th, 2020.
Oh, that was quite early. Quite early.
Correct. So I'm probably one of those that you'd call the first batch. That's when I had COVID initially. So at that time, it was just before the country went into lockdown, you know, the supermarkets, pandemonium, we went through all of that situation. So we knew it was happening. So that's when I first contracted COVID. So therefore, I knew it was COVID. This is not the flu. This is not anything else. We're right in the heat of the pandemic. This is COVID.
So were you at the time sort of, were you very nervous, or did you feel that you would be able to ride it out without any problem? Because at that time we didn't have vaccines, of course. So
correct.
We didn't have a treatment protocol. So, you know, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a few different things, because you've got the hype of the media, but also you've got other people's perspective on you as well. So other people would project their fears and their nervousness on you as well. Explain that. Well, because as we know, if you turned on the TV, all we heard was we got this pandemic, COVID-19, that's going to kill you. People are dying, and if you have it, it's not looking good for you. So people would project their fears onto you as well. But also take into consideration, this isn't a sickness or an illness that anybody has experienced before. So we don't know what the end date looked like. We didn't know, does this mean you're going to get better? Does it mean you're going to get worse? So therefore, when I first contracted it, I didn't know what was going on. I knew it was COVID. For example, the first thing that happened, I slept for 16 hours.
Oh, wow.
Straight 16 hours. Completely fatigued, headaches, and I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest.
Oh dear.
So I initially and immediately knew this is not the regular flu. And because, like I said, we was in the midst of it already. I knew it was COVID-19. But I think the fear was because we'd already at that point start to see, do you remember we had all of those images from Italy?
Yes, yes.
Right. So we had all of those images from Italy and
Yes.
all of these things were happening. So it was a case of, we don't know what this is, but we know it's not good. So that was the first initial stage.
Wow. Wow. I'm almost speechless hearing you describe it now. It's so well, I must say. And I have to admit, just to say, at that time, being stubborn, I was rather blasé. As you know, in my other role, most weekends I was out and about meeting people, shaking hands, meeting people like your mother,
Yeah.
most weekends, I was rather blasé, and I hadn't, I may have had it already, not realised it, of course, which is even worse. That's the worst case scenario in my view. Because then you are my degree to which I was blasé intensifies, because then you feel that you are impenetrable, invincible,
And Martin, and can I just say this? You have to factor in at that time, we had the pandemonium as well. Yeah. We had people going into the supermarkets, things going off the shelf. So you have to factor that into the disarray of all things, as much as COVID, and it's an illness that we don't know anything about. So there's all things that we have to say, this is part of the fear, rather than just one singular thing.
I hear you. So you knew it was COVID. That's you knowing it. And forgive me, you are a lay person like me, okay? Yeah. But you've seen the symptoms. How did you engage the NHS? Because clearly you are a usual first step, although going on the basis of my show last week, in many cases was going to the pharmacist, I'm not feeling well. So what's your first step? Did you go to GP, pharmacist? What did you do in the first step?
Okay, so the first thing I did, because it was, I knew it was COVID, I said, let me write this out for the first 10 to 14 days. Let me self-isolate. And I didn't want to be a burden on the NHS. So let me just get right, lock myself in and self-isolate. When I started to get better, I thought, okay, I'm good. Let me now go out and venture, go for a walk. So I went for maybe a 20-minute walk, but by the time I got home, I was staggering to get in. My lungs were on fire, my legs were going, I could barely walk, and I felt I was going to collapse. So at this point, I called 111.
Okay.
And because as soon as you mention about your chest, because I had chest pains, they will come out automatically, regardless if they know it's COVID. They have a care of duty to come out in case it's a heart attack or something. So they came out real quick. And when they came out, they diagnosed me as having COVID at that point. Okay. So they gave me the choice to say, you can either recuperate at home or recuperate in the hospital. Now, at this time, there was people dying in the hospital. So I was like, I'm not going to go in a hospital. I'd rather recuperate from home. And also, we've got to take into consideration, they could not even give me a test. And the reason being, because at that time, it was only frontline workers that had access to tests. So I had to take all of this diagnosis and start recovering from home. Now, at this time, like I said, my chest is now on fire. My lungs are on fire. All of these other symptoms are coming back. So we're talking excruciating headaches, chest pains, a dull ache underneath my chest. But over the next couple of days, I then started to experience crazy stomach pains and nausea with it as well. So at this point, I then called my GP, who basically laughed and said, no, we don't think anything's really wrong. We don't really think there's any association to COVID. Because
the GP said this?
Correct, because at this time, you have to remember, they said, if you got a cough and a cough, maybe a sore throat and a loss of smell, then that only represents COVID. Where I said, I've got all of these other symptoms. Now, the American websites had I think they had about 10 or different symptoms, but at this point, the English only had 3, 4. So yet again, I knew it was COVID. I'd been told it was COVID, but now I'm in a dialogue and an argument with my GPs who are laughing and saying, no, it's not COVID. And they said, well, you know, just have a paracetamol and a glass of water. And if things get any worse, you know, just go and get something over the shelf from the counter.
So hold on again. Let me get this right. Your GP suggested paracetamol.
Correct. And they still do. They still do.
Wow. And of course, they at that point in time, so you've had COVID by that time, and the symptoms of long COVID were now becoming apparent.
Correct.
Right. Wow. That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah. And, you know, at this point now, it still got to the point where they still wouldn't offer me a test because it was only for the care workers or the frontline workers. So it wasn't. So because I didn't have almost like that badge to say 1,000,000,000% this is what it was, they used that against me.
I understand it. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hand you over to Lady Chelsea, okay? And let Lady Chelsea ask questions. This is going to be interesting to see how it's moving. I'm going to move out of my chair and let Lady Chelsea take over. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi.
I haven't properly introduced myself. Chelsea. So yeah, I'll just ask you questions. So that was really interesting. So you're saying your GP said, what did he say? Did he diagnose you with anything, or he just said like?
No, they wouldn't. They wouldn't. They refused to, because you've got to take into consideration this was new to them. They did not have any idea. So at this point, I was more of an expert than they were.
Oh, okay, I understand.
This is not in their resume. This is not in their book. They don't know what's going on.
You said you kind of felt laughed at. Is that the kind of attitude that they gave you, or you just?
Yeah, I wouldn't say I kind of felt. I did feel, but they did laugh.
Oh,
they did laugh.
Or
yeah, they laughed. They thought it was, you know, you're kind of making it up, and it's just something simple, and no, just take a, you know, it's almost like have a Coke and a smile kind of thing. So yeah.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. That's quite scary. I think they were going through that, and then they've not got anything to say. So you said some of your symptoms. Was that everything? So it's the stomach pains. Did you get the throat, or is it more than that?
More. We're looking at delirium. We're looking at brain fog. Sinus. My sinuses would really burn. Yeah. And there was a time when I went to go for a walk, and it literally felt like my legs were going to give away, and I had to sit down. I literally had to find myself to a cafe and sit down for an hour and a half before I could get up to walk.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that sounds horrible. I think this is the worst, one of the worst cases.
Yeah. Oh, it's crazy because you got to add on top of that a lot of breathlessness. So sometimes trying to walk would be an issue. Trying to talk would be an issue. You know, going to the toilet would be an issue.
Yeah.
As far as my lungs were concerned, it felt like there's a constant pulling and a dragging on my lungs, which I still get. Okay. So the challenge always was what you woke up with in the morning might be completely different to what you might have in the afternoon. So it's like the symptoms would change around daily.
Oh, okay. I haven't heard of that. So how did you get to this? So how long were you sick for? Like this bad, and then what, did you take anything? Did they give anything? Did you have natural remedies? There was nothing. You just
no medication. You know, fortunately, you know, my mum tried everything. She tried every Jamaican recipe. Yeah. Put my head in every pot, every onion, every garlic, you name it. My mum went that way. Yes, right. And it didn't work. But I love my mum. She tried.
Yeah, of course. You have to try everything, isn't it? You don't. So let's talk about actually long COVID. So what is long COVID? I haven't heard of anyone actually having it before. I don't know anything about it. I'm sure maybe audience don't either. So if you could give how you feel like what long COVID is, and how it's affecting you?
Okay, I mean, it's an interesting term, and what my understanding is after 4 weeks. So when we've passed the initial 2 weeks of having COVID, we're now looking 4 weeks to 6 weeks later, the symptoms are still apparent. The symptoms are still operating in your body and manifesting.
Yeah. Okay. And this is all the symptoms. Everything is just still there. Nothing's like reduced or.
Well, the thing is, like I said, they come and go.
Yeah.
So you might have one symptom in the morning, you might have something completely different in the afternoon, or you might have certain symptoms for a week, and then you might not have it for another week, but you might relapse and they come back. So you might actually have a good week, but then it could come back after another week.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. So does that mean, do you have long COVID now? Or is it something you've had over the whole year and a half? Or is it you've fully recovered from it? Or...
I'd say I'm probably about 90% back to normal, but I still have the effects. I still get fatigued. I still have at times a pulling on my chest, quite often actually. There are times when I still get the burning nose sensation, and there are times when I can still get breathless. And we're 18 months along the journey.
Yeah. And have you been given anything since to help?
No. So basically what happened so after about, I think it was a couple of months, maybe around about August time, I managed to go to a drive-in center to get a test, which came back negative because it already passed after X amount of months.
Oh, okay.
Then they sent me off to the doctors because me and the doctor, we went to and fro. We went to and fro on this, I'm ringing up and we're having debates now. And eventually, after a lot of hounding, they sent me off to do an antibody test, but it came back negative because, we're now 6-7 months down the line. So what they said was this, they said, listen, we're going to refer you to a chronic fatigue syndrome clinic. Because of your fatigue, we're going to refer you to this. I said, listen, we need to be talking about the whole COVID here. And there was a lot of gaslighting in that regard. So that's what they decided to do, only to find out about 3 months later, they contacted me one day randomly to say, well, we can't refer you anymore because there's no funding anymore in that situation. So what we can do is offer you counseling.
No, really?
Counseling.
For your physical symptoms.
That's right. Counseling, add on top of that, the glass of water with the paracetamol.
Oh, I don't know what to say to that.
This is the reality.
Yeah.
And
so
I can add to that. At one point, they because they wasn't sure, they sent me to, they said they were going to send me to another doctor.
Yeah.
So all it was another out of clinic doctor that was doing face-to-face, because at that time, people weren't doing face-to-face.
Mm-hmm.
And when I spoke to that doctor, she just basically said to me, what do you think it is?
Diagnose yourself, basically.
Correct. Because they didn't have a clue, they didn't have an idea. So we became the experts in this early stage. And I think what's important I have to say here was, one of the things that saved me, I went online to find a support group, and I found a support group called Body Politic. And they were absolutely brilliant because I realized there's actually thousands of people that was in the same situation. Mm. So we was able to talk. So that allowed me to work with long COVID SOS and long COVID support group, which were brilliant at creating a community. And that's when we started that advocacy work in regards to pushing the understanding of long COVID to the forefront.
All right, well, that's helpful that you found somebody, because I was going to ask about if you've got any mental support or anything like that from any other groups, but I would have liked to be more confident in your GP referring you instead of you having to be sick and research yourself, which
right.
sounds quite worrying. Did you live by yourself, or did your mum come and look after you?
No, had to go to mum's, had to go to mummy. In times of trouble, you go to mummy.
Yeah.
And a beautiful woman, he said, come, let me look after you, but just don't come out the bedroom.
Yeah. Yeah, stay away though.
Yeah, we had a routine.
Okay.
We had a routine.
So, if you took a test now, would you be positive?
No, because then they disappear.
Okay.
So really, this is the thing where we have to get the understanding. It's what state has it left your body in?
Okay.
And so we can search for the antibodies all day long, but it's irrelevant. It's what condition has it left your body in? So I look at it like this. It's a bit like having an electric board, or you've got a board with all of these different wires or all of these different circuit boards and all of these different things that are going on, and it's malfunctioned. So the circuit board has malfunctioned and it now needs to be put back together. So it's like the body needs to reset and heal. But what does that look like? But also what damage has happened, and can it heal back to its former self? Now, that's the thing I don't know, because they haven't done those tests to find out, is there any scarring? Is there any issues with the heart, on the lungs? There's been no follow-up.
Okay. Yeah, so I was going to ask if you know if you have any long-term damages with your organs or with anything, your breathing.
I don't know.
You have no idea.
I have no idea, but I'm 18 months down the line and I'm still not 100%.
Okay. So what exactly you're experiencing right now on a daily basis? What's happening?
Chest still feels weak. Still feel like there's pulling on my lungs. Still get fatigued. Mentioned before, I still can get a burning sensation in my nose. Okay. Those are the main ones.
Okay. But okay, so moving about and living life is easier, but breathing is your main difficulty.
I wouldn't say that, no, because the challenge is when you exert yourself with exercise.
Okay.
Because everything could be fine, but you know, one day you can go for a little run, or a bit of a longer walk, or just exert yourself, maybe even in a conversation, and it can wipe you out.
Okay, so it doesn't have
to. What happened before, we could be having a conversation like this, and I could say I need to lie down, and then I'm sleeping for 3 hours.
Really? In a conversation? Okay, I don't know, I assumed it was like if you went for a jog or something, where something as minor as a conversation is really right. Okay, so you mentioned, was it body politics? You said
body politic, yeah. Body politic, long COVID SOS, and long COVID support. These are just some fantastic groups.
Yeah. So just to circle on that, just in case anyone else is going through what you're going through and hasn't got a support group, what exactly are they? How exactly are they supporting you? And any information, how have they helped, benefited you? Just so in case people want to research for themselves.
Yes, yeah, so Body Politic created a community, and it's a worldwide community. And when you visit what they have, it's on Slack, and they put this incredible platform together where you've got UK, you've got Europe, you've got America, you've got certain specific places, and you'll find there's certain people that are just like-minded in regards to they're going through the same thing, and you can start understanding that, oh, okay, you experienced this, you experienced that. And there's other times there might be press that might want to speak. There might be questionnaires that you might want to do. There's things that you can ask. It's a fantastic community to be able to speak to people. And it was from there that I was first invited to do a video. And this was really in the early stages. And there was a video that they wanted to do with people saying what their age was, what their occupation was, and how long they'd had COVID. And so we did it, and it was called Long COVID SOS. And so we ended up doing this video, and I think it's got about 80,000, 90,000 hits worldwide. And it actually went to the WHO, who picked it up and invited us to a Zoom meeting in Geneva from the basis of it.
And what did that, where was that shown for them, or like public?
They found it. Okay. Yeah, it went out. So it went out on Twitter, it went out on all social media platforms, and it ended up on their doorstep. They managed to see it, find it, however it is. And we then got invited to speak on long COVID. So
you're now part of the organization? Or you...
No, that's one thing I'm definitely not a part of.
No, that's fine. So no, I'm happy that you found help like that. because of what you said about your GP, it's quite, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's quite shocking. I didn't really, sorry you had that experience. But I was going to ask, has having COVID and going through this experience exposed any, which, you know, you kind of have said, negative or positive things in the NHS as a whole? You said negative. Did you think that the way you were treated was also a racial, or is it literally just they were ignorant and didn't know much and treated you like that, or do you think it was a race thing as well? Or
I think we can play the race card if we want to, but I think things have changed. I think it's not really a race thing anymore. I think it's a social thing. Okay. You know, if we think about that time, you had Idris Elba was able to get a COVID test.
Yeah.
You know, you had these top celebrities that were able to go out, and somehow this was only meant to be for frontline workers, but they got these tests. So it was more than just a color thing. It was a social thing.
Yeah. Okay. Which I get. So I do, from my own experiences, think that although like race, especially being Black, is like a massive thing and something that we, you know, trying to push to be better and everything like that. But I do think that sometimes we ignore, as you said, the social, the class. Is, that we have. That I think that's the same, if not maybe sometimes bigger, because it's just like there's a lot of poor people of every race, and if you know, if you're turning against, we all like lack information or lack money or lack things that, like you said, celebrities that shouldn't have had tests and things like that and treatment, and you're as important as Idris Elba.
I think it's reality. I think, listen, we can't be ignorant to this. I think money buys time. Money buys things that a normal person cannot buy. So if you have wealth, it opens doors that those that don't have that wealth are entitled to. And we can't deny that. And it's played out in these situations all the time. So this is the reality. Yes, we can't deny I'm a Black man, and I can't deny that there's racism. I can't deny that I believe that we are treated a particular way. But when we also acknowledge that, you know, look at the whole Woolworth area, for example, it is such a mixed area, but class separates the area rather than just color.
Yeah, which I think, it's a good thing that you pointed out, because, you know, if it's not race, there's no point in putting it on race and not solving the issue at hand. So was there anything, have you ever been hospitalized, or have you always been at home?
Always been at home.
Always been at home.
Yeah,
so,
and the reason being was because at that time, people was going in and dying.
Yeah, was it more a fear thing? Or?
Yeah, there was a lot of craziness that was happening. And I said, I'm not going in. Why am I going to go there? So I decided to recuperate from home as far as safety was, and to do it the best way I could.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So is the only part of the like NHS or health sector that you've been involved with in this particular scenario just your GP? Or have you had, is that the only experience you've had, or are there other health members who you don't feel did their job as well as?
No, it was just that.
Just that.
It was just that. And, you know, the reality was I was left to fend for myself.
Yeah. Have you complained? Do you want to complain, or are you taking it as, okay, you also knew as much as me, so I can't blame you? Or
to be honest, it got to the point where, you know, maybe I was wrong, but I was just like, I'm just going to do this myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to get myself healed, get myself back straight. But, you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was speaking at the House of Commons. I was asked to speak at a public inquiry where I relayed back all of this information to the MPs. Jeremy Hunt was there, and, you know, it was televised. And this was part of the inquiry of what's going on with COVID, the backlog, people not being able to see the GP because there's no face-to-face. And I think that's the other thing. If you do not have a face-to-face conversation, they cannot diagnose you properly, because a conversation over the phone is one thing, but when you've got somebody in front of you and you can visually see what's happening to that person, you're going to diagnose them slightly different, or you're going to take a bit more care and attention to go deeper. And I think the issue was there was no real energy or want to say, you know what, we don't know what this is, but we're going to investigate. And that's my issue. I'm of an age where I'm not saying I've had every illness or sickness in the world, but in most common sicknesses, if something's wrong with me, I can tell you this is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what I'm feeling. But if I'm saying to you, I don't know what this is, I cannot explain it, that means go and investigate.
You would hope.
Research.
Yeah.
But if there's not a willingness to do that, you're basically saying, I'm going to leave you over there to die. I'm leaving you over there because, first of all, are you going to die? Well, I don't feel like I'm going to die. Well, that's cool. If you're not going to die, we don't need to treat you because you're going to recover or you're going to be okay. And that's negligence.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So have you complained? Have
I made an official complaint? I haven't. Okay. I actually haven't. I do a lot of advocacy work where I speak on it. So I use my voice in these ways to be able to make my complaint, my feelings known on a wider scale.
So do you feel that it would be useless and better use of your time to, as you said, speak in these ways, and you don't feel like you get far in those procedures? Or
I think you got to use wisdom. I think you got to use wisdom, make sure there's enough voices to be heard. I think push for an inquiry. You know, these are the roots. I'm not saying that one person's voice cannot be heard, but if there's 50, 20, 1,000, 10,000 behind you, it becomes louder. And I think also from a legality perspective, you know, what you're going to do, take on the whole NHS by yourself. So apply wisdom in these situations, but make sure when you go in there, your agenda is correct.
Okay. No, I get you. So I'm just going to read out the telephone line just in case the audience have questions for you as well. And then I'll just
go ahead.
So if any listeners want to come in and talk or ask any questions or give their opinions, or if you're going through long COVID yourself and just want to share your experiences, the number is 020 348 15240. Then you'll be asked for a PIN number, which is 370 733 4397, followed by the hash key sign. Okay. Sometimes like how you described how you're kind of what you're going through physically. How are you living with it? How have you changed like your life? How have you had to change your life due to, and then mentally, how are you as well?
Excellent question. And thank you for it. It's a really good question. I think the first thing is you learn to say no. You learn to manage your time. You learn to listen to your body. And I think these are the things, you don't make excuses. If you need to rest and sleep, you do it. So I went through a stage, for example, I used to constantly probably be in bed by 9 o'clock. I would just crash.
Yeah.
And, you know, as a kid, you have that kind of mindset. I don't want to go to bed early because I might miss something. And I used to be a lot like that. So going to bed early, you know, I was used to 1 o'clock to 1 o'clock kind of thing. But when your body is in this type of situation, listen to your body. That's one of the things. Peace of mind is the second thing. This is listening to the right music, for example, calming music. Don't watch crazy things that's going to make your mind be really hyperactive. Even music, you don't need to be having all of these stimulants. You need to be able to relax. I'm a Christian, I'm a man of faith. So clinging onto my faith was everything for me. Reading the Bible, reciting scriptures that spoke positivity and spoke life. And I think these things were really critical. Having a community that understands and moving away negativity. that is crucial, because you're going to have people that will say, I don't believe you. It's all conspiracy. I don't believe this. I don't believe that. And what you've got isn't real. It's just a flu. So you've got to make sure you've got the right people that are speaking around you. Because otherwise you're going to have a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Because the key thing, if I said to you, well, or should I say, if somebody said to me, what is the best remedy for long COVID? I would probably turn around and say, listening ear.
Okay.
Because when you are not listening, what creates problems? Not being believed, having a hidden or silent illness that nobody believes, detrimental to your mental health.
When you're physically, you're actually going through something. So did you,
Correct.
on a personal level, get people saying it's not real on the, or was it just social media? So you actually had people saying you're not, but when you had your physical symptoms, what, I don't understand how they denied it. How did
one thing I learned is this, is that the best way to answer a fool is by silence.
All right, I like that.
You know what you know, you don't need to explain anything. And if you feel you have to explain yourself, you're wasting your energy. I understand that people will not experience what you experience, but it doesn't mean that you always have to give an answer. Wisdom doesn't mean you have to answer all the time. Yeah. You know, there's countries in the world that have never experienced snow. But just because they've never seen or experienced snow, it doesn't mean it doesn't exist. It's just their limitations of their experience and their understanding.
So I really like the answer, mature. I'm trying to learn that myself. But it looks like I think we have a caller on 2911. Hello? Hello? Number 2911. It's just here for fun. Okay, cool. I'll just mute them. They are making noise. Okay, cool. I think there's somebody else.
And Lady Chelsea, may I say this? So I don't think this question's been asked yet.
Yeah.
Why have I chosen to speak out?
Yes.
Was that coming? I know that was coming. You got that down there, right?
Of course, I had that.
Of course.
Answer that. Yeah. While they get prepared. Yeah, if you want, you could answer.
Just pretend and answer it now. Go ahead.
So, why speak out about this? What's motivated you to come on the show today?
That is a brilliant question.
Thank you. I came out of it myself.
Oh my gosh, that is the question right there. Now, the reason I chose to speak out is because I believe that if you have something to say, you should say it. Okay. And in my daytime job, I'm a business motivator. I do learning and development consultancy work. I'm a speaker, I'm a host, I'm a presenter. So I speak for a living. Okay. So going through this, one thing I recognize is, as far as communities, we don't like to speak, especially the Black community. Okay. You know, there's certain things that are taboo. There's certain things that we just don't speak out. And especially being a Christian on top of that, because how can you be a Christian and be sick? How does that work out?
Yeah.
Well, pretty simple. The Bible says that Paul had to go to God 3 times, and he said, my grace is sufficient. So there's plenty of times and examples in the Bible that people were very sick. So you can be a Christian, and yes, you can have COVID and you can die from COVID. It's the reality. We need to just eliminate these thought processes. The second thing is, I didn't speak because I said to myself, I'm going to speak on behalf of the community. I don't necessarily believe I represent the community in that way. I represent the human race. So I speak because I'm not well, or I wasn't well. And I know by myself speaking, I become a voice to people, because there'll be people suffering alone who don't maybe have the confidence or the ability to be able to speak. And if I have a talent and I have a gift from God that allows me to speak, why don't I speak on it?
That makes sense. I like that. Because,
you know, and
yeah, sorry.
Just add to that, the reason I'm going to say that, because earlier on I spoke about a video that we did that went viral. That was done by people who had their own film company. So they said, well, this is what we do. So why don't we give back? So we're filmmakers. Let's make a video about long COVID and what we're going through. And that's what I've seen quite often in the long COVID community, is that people who have got gifts and talents are now utilizing them for the purpose of advocacy work. And I'm no different.
Yeah, no, I like this, using, you know, your talents and stuff, what you to share. Like you said, I don't think I've ever thought about it like our community not using our voice when maybe we should. And I think, you know, there's a lot of things happening in the world where we should be speaking up now.
Correct. Yeah, Marcus Rashford is no different. If Marcus Rashford didn't have a platform to be able to speak, would he be an MBE right now? No, he wouldn't. Yeah. Would he have got the applause? Would he have got the movement happening in the way that he did? No, he used his platform. And I think if you have a platform or you have a gift of talent, utilize it for the good. Because quite often, you know, we get stuck in our 9 to 5 thinking this is the only thing that we should be doing. But sometimes life can create a crisis for you to step out and do something a bit different. That's not your norm.
I get that. I like that. So, I think we have another caller on 8188. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask?
Yeah, hi, good morning. This is a really good show. I really appreciate it. Anything to do about health and everything. So thanks for speaking to us, that's what I want to say. So like, I have these conversations with people probably on a daily basis about the effects of COVID, to, of course, do your own research, listen to health professionals, but also trust the process as well, because everything's an unknown at the moment, even still to this day. My question to you really is, has your outlook on life changed at all? Do you see things in a different way? Are you kind of having different conversations with people now? How has it changed your life socially?
I think one thing I've learned pretty quickly is nothing's guaranteed in life. You can live for the day, plan for tomorrow, but tomorrow is not guaranteed. So do what you need to do today. Stop procrastinating. If you got a gift or a talent, utilize it. Find out what your purpose in life is for. Because what's the point of spending your life in a job that you hate? If you got a gift or a talent that you can make money from, exhaust it. Go and have a look to see what can I do with what I need to do. If I have these attributes in my life, can I do something with that? And do I need to upskill myself to do something with that? Because some of the great people I think in life are here not because they just woke up one day and said, let me be great. It's because there was a need and they answered that call for the need. And I think that we need to have a lot more advocates that are willing to step up and step out and say, this is why I'm here. I'm here to do something. I'm here to make a difference, rather than feeling that I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to offend my community. I don't want to offend my, you know how Black parents are, oh, Lord Jesus, you know, do what you need to do and don't chase the money for it. It's not about being great. It's about doing you. And if you got a voice, use it for the best reason that you can.
Yeah, I like that. And I do have another question. Kind of like question talking point is really about how we operate at the moment. So how we're continuing to operate. So, you know, the world went into lockdown, and then we were just like thrown back into the workplace. People who know me know that, you know, talking about how awful capitalism is for like forever. But what's your opinion? I like to hear from people who've actually experienced this. So what's your opinion on how quickly the world's kind of just moved back into quote unquote normality, and there's only been like a few like adjustments, work from home a few times a week. But in terms of like how everything has gone back to normal quite quickly, in my opinion, What do you think on that? Do you think it's a bit too soon, or
I think it's dangerous. I think it's dangerous. And I tell you why I think it's dangerous. And I know dangerous is a strong word, but I think it's proved that the world can stop and become normalized so quickly, which therefore means if it happens again, it's now become normalized. And so if the government want to implement anything, the fear is not there anymore. I think in the initial stage, we'd never in our lives experienced anything of this kind. So there was fear, pandemonium. But now, this is part of the norm. You know, if we would have said 2 or 3 years ago, we would be experiencing this, we would have said, you got to be crazy. Stop watching Hunger Games. Stop watching all these futuristic films. But now we're living in that future. And what it now means is that we are living in a world that we've become accustomed to too easily. And we've gone back to the ways that we thought weren't great too readily. You know, I think somebody once said, we didn't have this Jesus moment where we stopped doing everything just to go back to it a couple of months later.
Yeah.
And I think that's the disappointing thing, that we haven't taken stock and said, hold on, let's reset. Let's rethink our minds. Let's rethink our strategies. Let's rethink life. What can we do better? You know, I think along the way they were saying that the sky was less polluted. You know, there was all of these great things that were happening because the world paused. So to go back there straight away, it is disappointing on so many levels.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know if there's another caller, so Lady Chelsea, let me know if go away.
If you have anything else to say, that's fine. No one else has called in. So you seem to be answering questions quite well. So yeah, you can say something.
Keep going.
I do have another one.
Go ahead.
What advice would you give people from any community, any walks of life, in regards to COVID? What would your advice be?
I have a saying that real stories give real hope. Your voice frees somebody. Stop hiding behind Black people, we don't do this. Stop all of that foolishness. You know, we have to look out what's good for our health, what's better for the community, what's better for our grandchildren. You know, we got to take stock and stop living behind, we don't do this as Black people. We got to stop that. Because one thing that this whole experience has taught us is death is not exempt to any culture, any race, any creed, any color, or anything. When lockdown happened, everyone became the same. That didn't matter if you was the rich, didn't matter if you was the poor. We was now, at one point when death was on the doorstep, we was all at the same level. The million study didn't mean anything. And I think we need to get to a place where if something's wrong, we call it out. You know, whether it's dementia, whether it's even things like hearing loss. You know, we have this lot of these things of denial. You know, the foods that we eat, if it's not good for us, let's do something about it rather than saying that's just us, that's just how we eat. We've got to change our mindsets to be better so we give ourselves a better chance of living longer, and also providing a longer lasting legacy for our families and our community.
Answer your question.
Yeah, no, you did answer it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Was that all you had? Was there anything else?
If I can say more.
No, that's fine. No, because you seemed like to really be interested. So thank you for calling in.
Yeah. My only thing other thing would be, how did you keep your spirits high? Because you do sound quite positive. And I know myself, I would not be feeling the same way. So how did you manage to keep up your spirits even still to this day?
It was challenging. You know, I'm not going to start off here and saying, oh, it was simple. No, you know, I was on Zoom calls, Instagram calls, video calls, and I was having these conversations with people that would be crying down the phone and saying, do you think we're going to die? And I did not have an answer for them. And all I could do was to cling on to my faith. That's what got me through, my faith. And like I said, the challenge was because you had Christians saying to me, but how can you be a Christian and have COVID? That doesn't make sense. And this was yet again the early stages, but I still held on to my faith, and it allowed me just to speak affirmations into my life. And also I then started to look at, well, I need to start watching better things. I need to be listening to music that inspires me. I need to make sure I'm in a place of peace. And you know what? Let me not fear. You know, if you start fearing things, you can create things. I chose to be in a position where I said, you know what, if I die, I die. If it's my time, it's my time. But you know what? I'm not going to fear. And I think that was the thing, was my faith was what got me through. And having some great people around me, I think that is what's really key, having some great people around me who just support. And listen, you might have people around you that don't even necessarily believe you, but they will support you. And that's the thing. Choose your friends wisely. There were certain friends that I had that I lost along this journey. There were certain thoughts in my head that made me say, you know what? Let me stop doing the things that I've always done in my life and reset, reevaluate, recalculate. And when I come through this, let me look at life a bit different and attempt to do things differently. And I did, and I have.
I love that. It's true. Having a good support system is so important. And that's one thing about our community, is that having a support system is core. And I feel like sometimes, especially in the UK, we've kind of lost that in some ways. So yeah, I definitely would say that having your tribe is the saying, right? So having your tribe that will be there for you for thick and thin. And I guess it allows you to appreciate people even more as well, and you want to do more for others. And especially you being able to have that support group with strangers. Sometimes we don't think about how a stranger who even is going through the same thing or isn't going through the same thing can have that impact in your life and help you get through it. But yeah, I think those are all my questions at the moment. If I have more, I'll definitely call back.
Yeah, I'm just going to add to what I just said there in regards to this. When it came to that support group, I had white people, Asian people, it was everyone that was the same. We was all fighting the same battle. And so it wasn't a case of, that's a black guy and what's he doing here? It was, we just all need to help each other right now. This isn't about color. This is about survival. And what happened with that, we then started to find, there was doctors that was there as well. So you've actually got a lot of advocates that are actually GPs and doctors. And that was a saving grace when you've actually got doctors that are saying, hold on, I've got long COVID.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, what started to change the game, because you've got MPs, you've even got celebrities that are struggling with long COVID. And I think these are the things that are crucial, that they are speaking out about long COVID. Because if it wasn't for these people having long COVID, there'd probably still be a stigma of it's not really true, it's not really real, and it only is that. But where you've got some of the prominent people in the world struggling or living with long COVID, it's changed the theme of things.
Yeah, no, most definitely. I think, especially amongst younger people, it was a thing of, okay, if I get it, I won't die. So I'm still going to do what I want to do, but not thinking about the aftermath. And a part of me believe that that's kind of that's down to the government. One, the government doesn't push that enough. There's not enough messaging around long COVID. It's only when you actually talk to like healthcare professionals that you get that information. That could also be down to the fact that they do want people to go back into work, get things back to normal. So trying to get rid of that, that fear factor. So it's amazing, and it's really good that you are speaking out about this. to get people to understand the implications that you can live with it, but they are actually consequences. And that anyone could get it. You don't go out and catch COVID on purpose. It can happen to anybody. So like you've been saying, be safe, be smart, talk to people, get as much information as possible on what your next move would be. Definitely.
And
so
you got to factor this part in what you're saying, is that if you really think about it, because sometimes I think, okay, is it a case of they don't want to say this is the diagnosis, this is what it is? Because two different people can have two different experiences of long COVID. There's not one pill that heals long COVID. It just doesn't work like that, because there's different experiences. And also, as I mentioned before, it's dependent on what it's done to your body as well.
Yeah.
So it puts the government in this situation where if people say, well, this is long COVID, this is what it is, well, what does that now look like in the workplace? If somebody says, well, listen, I've got this disability, because that's the next thing, does it now be defined as a disability? And if it's a disability, that now opens up a lot of things legally. This now creates a problem. Does a person lose their job because they don't have the ability to work 5 days anymore? They can only do 2. What kind of lawsuit would that open up? So it's problematic. And I think personally, that's why it's some of the reasons why the government are taking time to try and work through it, because they don't want to admit and say, this is what it is, because there's a fallout from it.
Yeah. No, absolutely. When I even look at my own workplace, I'm wondering how, they would adapt if there are people who will be experiencing long COVID, how that would go about, even come back into the office, having regular tests and things like that. I suppose that we do. If they take that on, that's a different question. But yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thanks again. And shout out to you, Lady Chelsea, for taking on the last hour as well. So it's really good to see you in the limelight.
No,
but yeah,
thank you for calling.
It's been fantastic, right?
Yeah,
it's really good.
Oh, thank you. That's appreciated. Thank you for calling in. So you were talking, just you answered, I want to know if your family dynamics work as well, and your finances, how's it been affected? Do you work in an office? Can you work 5 days a week now? Were you before? How has that changed? Has work helped you with your new life?
Turned it on its head.
Yeah.
So in my line of work, I travel. I'm up and down the country. And then when I get to the place where I need to go, I'm now standing up for 5-7 hours. And it's exhausting work when you're delivering, when you're speaking, when you got that energy to be able to talk. You can't do that the same way. If I'm honest, just before long COVID, I was quite active. And then with long COVID, it wiped me out, because first of all, the pandemic stopped the work coming in, because there was just no work. I couldn't go out and earn my living. And then on top of that, I came down with long COVID, or COVID, long COVID. So I went from doing pretty good to doing pretty bad. And that was the reality. Now I'm coming back out the other side. Opportunities are coming back again, which is absolutely brilliant. But I still have to watch how I operate. I still have to watch how, or should I say, manage long COVID. I may not be able to do 3-4 days back to back. It's just not the same.
Yeah. So how do you do you book different events? What is your job? Exactly.
So yes, I'm a host, presenter, speaker, business motivator, and also I do learning development consultancy work. So yeah, no 2 days are the same. So it's quite funny. So I'm probably in that privileged position where people come to me for work. Not always. So anyone out there listening, come give me some more work, please. But what it does mean, though, is that I have to be in a position to be able to work physically and mentally. So there may be a week where that might be, you know what, I can only probably manage 2 days. Or another day where I might have to be able to push it just a bit more. But even those days where you feel you can push it more, you've got to be careful, because if you push it too far, it's a good chance you're going to end up relapsing.
Yeah. Okay. And during this, did you get a loan from the government for anything, or was it that you have to fall back on yourself?
Benefits.
Oh, okay.
I went on benefits. That's right. And the thing is this, I say to people all the time, own your shame, own your embarrassment. Don't be in a position where you feel, oh my gosh, I can't tell. Listen, if it is what it is what it is. Yeah. We all survive in our own ways. We've all got secrets and things behind closed doors that we don't tell the world about. And yes, it's not everything that you need to tell the world about, but don't feel embarrassed. You know, if you have to go to a food bank, go to a food bank. If you have to go somewhere else to get a meal, go and do that, because sometimes in life, you'll be put in a situation where you have to survive. And as we know, that wonderful TLC song, I Ain't Too Proud to Beg.
I think, yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty, because, you know, I try to be as honest as I can on here without, you know, telling my whole business. But it's just like you said, you know, what would you say? Real stories give hope.
That's
and
right.
You know, I really, really like that, because it makes it, I didn't understand why people were embarrassed about having to go on benefits or go to food banks, especially in this particular scenario when it's the whole world. Like everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people in your scenarios, a lot of people lost their job, no matter, you know, what class, what their salary was. And, you know, a lot of people can't cope or live off their savings for however long. It's happened for 18 months now. And, you know, some businesses, I'm sure, like closed down and things like that. So I didn't understand the embarrassment of having to get loans or help in this particular scenario. That's exactly what it's here for. You know, why you pay tax, and why, you know, if we need help, we should take it. It's here for us.
That's right. And you know, it's funny because my mum she makes me laugh, but she's always saying, well, you know, Simon Carroll, he come home with one little suitcase back to his mama's. So, you know, you know, sometimes that's how life is. Sometimes you got to go back, start, rebuild, and go again. And that's what it is, you know. I say this from this regard. A success story is nothing without failure. Yeah. That's why we like success stories, because somewhere along the line, something went wrong. But it's how you overcome. That's what the key is. Never give up, never lose hope, because in amongst all things, there's someone somewhere else having it worse. So why should I complain?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. You also said, I think, when the caller just asked that you felt like we'd gone back to normal too quickly. What would you have liked to see, and especially as someone, I haven't knowingly had COVID or had any symptoms or anything, so as someone that's actually been through it, what would you have liked to have seen the government do? If, you know, because I think the big argument was, you know, money, not businesses aren't making money, economy, blah, blah, blah. But from someone who's actually experienced it, what would you like to see them do?
You know, it's really difficult to answer, because we all have our own situation in life. For certain people, they needed to go back to work.
Yeah.
So for me to turn around and say, well, the government should have just done this phased way back in, other people saying, yeah, understand, I've got a family to feed. And it's so personal. But I do think there should have been a lot more research and understanding, because they still don't know what's going on with long COVID. They're still arguing where, you know, what backdropping created COVID. You know, it's foolishness. You know, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. And my thing really simply is, do I really care where it's come from? Not really, because all I do know is that it's real. And that's my thing. I don't need to get into no conspiracy theory, because I've experienced it and I know that it's real. You know, I've had that lived experience of it. So I think the government needs to start listening. They need to listen to the communities. They need to listen to those that have lost everything, that have lost their hope. Because if you don't hear those stories, it just doesn't affect you. You won't have that ability to empathize. And I think that's my take on it. I'm not sure that really answered the question, but
no,
that's
as you said, like everyone's experience was different. As you said, people had to go to work and study and go back to normal life at some point, and finding a balance. Although I feel like me and a lot of people don't feel like the government handled it correctly, it's still like we're still learning. As you said, we've never done this before, and there's a lot of things and a lot of different experiences to take into consideration. So there was, as you said, it's not one answer. So I do understand you don't have like one thing. They could have done this.
Yeah, we have sometimes this thing in the UK where we're still in this royal, rule Britannia rules the waves, and nothing ever affects us because we're Great Britain, and how dare coronavirus comes and challenges us. It's like, get a grip. It's going to challenge us. Act early, be prompt. Prevention's better than cure. And I believe most of the things the government has done has been reactive.
Yeah.
And that's the problem.
Yeah. I do agree with that. We're soon done, so I'm going to ask you like one last question, and then I'll get you to just have like closing statement or something. So I didn't want to focus too much on this, but just to know, did you have the vaccine, and has it helped you with your symptoms? Has it bettered anything, or is it, how is it?
That question right there, right? You saved that one for last. Okay, you want to go out like this, right? Okay, here we go. Did I have the vaccine? The answer is no.
Okay.
And the reason I have not had the vaccine is because if the doctors and the health authorities can't tell me what's wrong with my body, why am I going to let you put something in my body?
Okay. I respect it.
The end.
Yeah, that's fine.
Drop mic.
Yeah, that's fine. I don't want to focus too much on it as well. I know that,
I came to you for help. I came to the health service for help, and they didn't want to help me.
Yeah.
But now you want to put something in my body. Texting me 24/7. Have you had your thing? Leave me alone. When I came to you, you weren't available, but now you're all over me.
Yeah.
And you still haven't researched me to find out what's wrong, what's going on. Is there any long-lasting effects? But yet you now want to put that back into my body. No, thank you.
And that makes sense. I respect. So yeah, just to close, do you have any closing statements, advice for anybody? If you wanted to, I don't know, mention the groups you joined as well, just in case anybody wanted to join.
I'll say this, when just following on.
Yeah.
The vaccine is your choice. My reason for not taking it is my personal reason. I don't shout to people don't have it, because there's different people with different medical conditions that need to be protected. Different people will have their own individual reasons. I have mine. And I think there should always be a respect for people if they choose to, or if they choose not to. And I think we're in a country where that should definitely be allowed. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. But for me, it's a no. And and I think the last thing is, like I said, body politics, long COVID SOS, long COVID support. If you go on Twitter, there's some fantastic communities that are on Twitter. These guys, they've also got Instagram pages. And you just tend to find that people are more willing to listen. I'd also say, make sure that you have positive thoughts around you, positive people, affirmations, but don't subject yourself to be in a position where people can say whatever they want to say to you and they think it's okay. Remove yourself from that place. Nobody does have a right to speak to you in a particular way.
Oh, that's sorry, the music telling me to leave. But Susie, thank you for coming. You've been really been great and helpful to me being by myself. So thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy that you came, and thank you. So bye everyone. Goodbye.
Bye.
And you feel all alone, but hold on, better days are coming. It can be rough in this world. I know it ain't easy, but hang on in there. Better days are coming. You see good, you see bad, you get happy and you sad, but just remember that better days are coming. Friends will leave you all by yourself, but don't cry, comes better days are coming. It's only a season for you going through, but stay focused and never lose sight. I know people, they don't see the hurt you feel inside, but keep on smiling, 'cause everything will be alright. Better days. Coming.